All right, here's a problem that we are going to begin by reading the question sentence first, as always. So it says here, if 30 adult tickets and 18 child tickets were sold, that right there, everybody remember, anything that comes after the word if is conditional information. This is not what we're looking for, but rather information that we could use to achieve that answer. So after that comma, we see that it says, what was the total revenue? So right there. So that's what we're looking for. We are looking for the total revenue. Again, who, what, when, where, how many, which of the following. That's where we want to get our attention to right there in the beginning. So total revenue is what I want. And I'm going to pay attention now when I read this context for anything that tells me how the total revenue is calculated or how we can do so, through any stretch of the word. So ticket booth revenue follows R equals this equation, whatever, right there, where R is total revenue in dollars. So instantly when I read this, everybody, instantly I'm thinking, hey, they just gave it to me. R is total revenue in dollars. That's that piece right there. But everybody, when you look at the equation itself, I hope we notice that we have A and C that we're going to have to figure out how to plug in. And thankfully, they tell us that A is the number of adult tickets and C is the number of child tickets. So when we set up our formula, everybody, the setup matters the most. We already know that we're solving for R. Let me fix that up. Equals 25A plus 15C. So we already know that we're solving for R, so we'll leave that as is. However, though, everybody, where is the 18 going to be replaced? The A or the C? Where are we replacing 18? Yeah, that's going to be C for child tickets. So right there, we're going to make sure that we have 18 child tickets. That's C right there. And then when we take a closer look, on the other hand, we have 30, and that is 30 adult tickets, and that's where the A is going to be replaced. So when we rewrite this, we now have R equals 25 times A, which is 30, and then we have 15 times C, which is 18. And so this is what you want to evaluate to get the correct answer. We have to go ahead and multiply 25 times 30. Whatever we get there, we're going to add it with 15 times 18, whatever that is. So basically, my game plan is multiply right here, multiply right there, and then add the results together. My party people, personally to you, before I get to the calculation, let me know, does that make sense personally to you before we get started on the calculation? Hopefully it does. Let's go ahead and get into it here. Again, what we're trying to do is plug the right values into the right places and then proceed with the calculation. So here, I'll begin by doing 25 multiplied by 30. So here we'll have 30 times 25. 0 times 5 gives us 0. And then 3 times 5 gives us 15. Up next, we'll add a 0 right there. So that way we can start in the tens place. So we'll go ahead and see that we have 0 times 2, which will end up being 0. Then we have 3 times 2, which ends up being 6. Add all that together, and we get 0, 5, and 7, so 750. But we're not done, because we have to continue on with that 15 times 18. So with that, here we go. 18 multiplied by 15. And so we have 8 multiplied by 5, and that's 40. Carry the 4. 1 times 5 is 5. Carry the 4 is 9. Then from there, tack that 0 so we can move on to the next place value. 8 times 1. 1 times 1. And then we add all of this back up. So we have 0. 9 plus 8 is 17. Carry the 1, and that'll be a 2. So 270 right there. So with that said, my party people, are we done? Or is there one more step that we have to do that we discussed? And that step that we discussed, I think we can all say is we're going to add, right? We said we would multiply here, multiply there, and then add it all back up. So let's do that final step and be done. So we have 750 added with 270. And so we'll have 0, 5 plus 7 is 12, carry the 1. 9 plus 2 is, or 7 plus 2 is 9, carry the 1 is 10. So we have 1,020, and that's going to be our final answer right there, giving us answer choice A. $1,020 is going to be the total revenue in this ticket booth. All right, and here's another example problem. My party people, what is the first thing we always want to do? What is the first thing we always want to do when it comes to any word problem, regardless? Absolutely, it's going to be reading the question sentence. Remember, it doesn't matter how confident you are with math or any subject for that matter. When it comes to problem solving, that's a skill. Problem solving is a universal skill. So, in order to solve a problem, you first have to understand what the goal of the problem is. That's why I never begin by reading all of this. I just start with the question sentence. So boom, there we are. It says, how long does the trip take? So with that said, everybody, given that you know what topic we're dealing with today, distance, rate, and time, which of those three pieces are we looking for in the question sentence? Yeah, time. How long does the trip take? How long does something take? That is time. And if you don't believe me, this is another way that you can confirm this. Everybody, when you look at the answer choices, what units are we using for the answer choices? What units are we using? Yeah, hours. 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, and 4 hours. Absolutely. So that's another confirmation that you can, really settle down with that, yeah, we're looking for time. So with that, let's go ahead now and see how we're going to get time. Because I know my formula. It's distance equals rate times time. For sure, I know that much. Now, because we're looking for time, everybody, what did we discuss? What operation are we going to need to use to isolate time? Division, exactly. Remember, to get distance, we're going to multiply rate times time. But in this particular problem, check things out. It says 96 miles. That is a distance. I'll plug that in right here. Then we have 32 miles per hour. That is a rate. Miles per hour. 2 units together. So right there, boom. And you see that we're trying to find time. But the 32 is in the way. 32 miles per hour is in the way. So everybody, we're going to divide both sides to get rid of that 32. So here's how that's going to look. I'm going to go over here on the right and on the left. I'll divide 32. The reason being, because we're going to cancel out that 32 on the right side. Once we cancel it out from the right side, boom. It's going to be nothing except the t left over, which is what we want. That's exactly what we want. So now that we're at this point, everybody, it's really just a matter of, hey, what's 96 divided by 32? And y'all tell me, my party people, what is 96 divided by 32? How many times does 32 go into 96? Exactly 3 times. Don't believe me? Go ahead and do it on the side. 32 times 3, just to make sure. 2 times 3 is 6. And then 3 times 3 is 9. So yeah, that works out. And so the time that this takes is 3 hours. And there we are. So we've now executed a problem where, it's not just working forward, but we are working backwards now to find one of those individual pieces.